What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video on Pure Panorama. We are going to be talking about the Cummins and its newfound problem of having a slow start. It's like slowly cranking at first when you first turn the key. And I was thinking, what the heck, man? We got brand new batteries in this thing. It can't be the batteries, but then again, maybe it is. Maybe the alternator is getting weak and not charging the batteries up properly or fully, so it's giving it a hard time when it's trying to start due to the grid heater trying to run and everything else that's on the truck that needs to draw juice from the batteries. But we went and had the alternator tested and the batteries tested at the parts store and everything checked out. It was fine, everything was where it needed to be, and we're definitely getting a good charge on stuff. So that led me into the starter and thinking that maybe the starter is just starting to get worn out, or the connections are getting a little gunked up and corroded on the starter. So I got down underneath the truck and started to look at things, and well, the connections were a little iffy. So we got on them and started to take them apart, and well, I did some filming when I was doing it, so let's just check that out quick and I'll see you in a second. We are getting a very slow crank with the truck, and it almost just hardly started when I went to leave work. So what I'm gonna do tonight, since we have a little bit of time, is I'm going to crawl down underneath there and try and inspect the connections on the starter. I haven't really done research as to how much a starter costs for these trucks, so I need to look that up at the moment and kind of get a general price range on how much a new starter is versus how much the parts are to just rebuild it, and see if it'd be worth my time to pull it off and just rebuild it or get a new one and swap in the old one as a core. Either way though, it'll make for some content for you guys to watch doing a starter change if we have to do that. I'm gonna try the simple stuff first to see if I can't get the connections popped off, clean them up, and make sure that they're good. Put some Oxguard and things like that on there to just protect them and keep the salt and moisture and corrosion and crap away from them. See if we just get a better connection by doing that. And if that doesn't seem to help, then I am gonna go ahead and guess that maybe something is wrong with the starter internally. I have not looked at the starter ever on this truck though, and it's just weird because it was fine. It was starting up perfect and normal for the longest time, and then all of a sudden out of the blue we started running into this little issue, and well, here we are. It's getting worse and worse as it gets colder and colder now that we're into the winter months. So that's the plan for tonight. We're gonna let this thing drip dry a little bit in the garage, then we're gonna crawl down underneath there with a light and see what we can come up with. So here's what we're looking at when we're down underneath the truck. We have our big main power wire coming into the starter right there, and if you guys look, you can see that that nut right there where it makes the connection, it looks a little rough. That lug that's on the end of the wire and connected to the stud or the post on the starter is looking a little corroded, so I'm gonna try and just bust that loose. Definitely have room to get up in there. It's a little tight because you got your front diff. Just below that you got your oil pan and your front drive shaft, but it's nothing that you shouldn't be able to get up into. So I'm gonna get that busted loose and pull that off and just try to get it all cleaned up and clean those connections and see if that will help to turn this around just a little bit. And if it doesn't, then we will look at getting a rebuild kit for this thing and pulling the starter out of the truck completely. So for now, let me see what the size of that nut is and pop that free and then start cleaning. Well, that's no good, guys. We just broke the lug that holds our wire onto the starter. So I'm gonna have to see if I have a lug that will fit this wire so that we can get this fucker back together. Well, that did not go as planned. As soon as we got under the truck and started wrenching on that thing, it broke. So it was rusted and corroded enough to the point where it couldn't hold up to the torque of me turning the ratchet on there. Unfortunately, there are 2 nuts on it that I wasn't able to see, and the stud was starting to spin with the lug on the wire connected to it still, and I didn't know that that second nut was on the top of the lug. And what that nut is supposed to do is to tighten that stud on the starter down so that it makes a good connection. And apparently it has worked itself loose and it wasn't tightened down. So the stud was starting to spin when I got on it to break it loose, and well, it sheared the lug clean off. So I unfortunately don't have a lug that size to replace the one with right now. I'm running out to Napa and Home Depot to grab a couple bigger lugs. I need the same size as what I put on the battery terminals when we did the battery terminals a couple months back. It is one of those big like 4/0 wires or whatever it is, 4/0 cables that runs to the starter, just like the positive and negative battery leads are. So that is what I need to go do. I do have extra lugs here, but they are just too small. They're for like 2-gauge wires. So off to the store we go. We gotta hurry though so that we can get this girl cleaned up, put back together, and hopefully get her running. Right now, she's dead in the water, stuck in the garage. Why'd you have to go messing with it tonight, Josh? Just can't keep your hands off stuff, can ya, buddy? Just got back from Napa and Home Depot. Unfortunately, Napa did not have the size lugs that I needed. I need a 4/0 for these cables. So I went to Home Depot and I got a lug that I'm hoping will be okay to get me to work tomorrow. It'll be a temporary deal until I can get to the Napa that I usually go to and get another crimp-on 4/0 lug connector so that we can get this thing squared away and have it be a permanent fix. But for now, it is late already. I need to get down underneath the truck, just get through this. And then when we have more time in the next video or a video coming soon, I will show you more of what I did and what I went through to get this done and give you more specifics. But right now I'm focused on just getting it completed so I can get inside, eat dinner, shower, and get to bed after I edit this video for you guys. But Napa was not a complete fail. We did pick up some new wheel cylinders for the rear brakes on the truck. So I'll explain this later in another video when we get into bleeding the brake system and the brake lines and tell you what I got and why I needed to get them. So what I got basically are these lugs here that the lead would just go into, and then there's a little set screw on it, and you tighten that down with an Allen head to clamp onto the lead, and then I can put it back on the stud for the starter. And I also got some new nuts to hold that lug onto the stud, and the size for those nuts on our starter stud is a 3/8 by 16. So if you are looking to get new nuts or hardware on your starter and clean up the connections on it, 3/8 by 16 is the size of the nut. All right, back to work I go, and I will catch up with you after I get it wrapped up and let you know how it goes and close out the video. So this is what we're working with now. We got this new copper lug on. Sorry, I'm blocking the light. As you can see, we just tightened down that set screw right there, and it pinched it right down onto our starter power cable. I did put some aux guard on there, even though it's still an open connection. This is just gonna be a temporary deal. We're probably gonna do something different and change it up. I might still use this style connection, but I'd still like to get something over this to protect it and kind of seal it up so we don't run into the same corrosion issues as we just experienced and discovered. But that was it, man. I just stripped that wire back, put this on. It fit like a glove, so I just need to go and get a different connector if I do want to switch it. But otherwise, we are in business. Hopefully, we are going to put this on the starter stud right now, get one of our new nuts on there, tighten it all down, and see if this old girl will crank over. Keep your fingers crossed. Well, we got everything put back in and installed. I got it tightened down onto the stud. There is still something I feel that is off with it though, because when I go to tighten the nut down to hold that lug up on the stud for the starter, it still wants to back off the other nut, which is to tighten that stud down and hold it firmly in place in the starter. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't have time to keep messing with it right now tonight though, so that might be added to the list of things to do this weekend. Maybe pull that thing back off, look it over a little bit more, and see if we can't get a better connection. Maybe even end up ordering in some parts to just pluck the starter as a whole and possibly do a rebuild on it. I'm gonna look up prices on new starters in general and just see what they run versus getting a rebuild kit and attempting to rebuild it. I've never rebuilt one, but I don't see why I wouldn't be able to. And what the hell, it might be good and make for some good content. So as you guys can see from that little bit of footage that I did get while doing that starter lead and trying to clean up the connections, the thing was really corroded. It just snapped as I tried to take the bolt off the stud so that I could pull the connection off and try to clean it all up. I ended up having to run all over to Napa and Home Depot last night on a scavenger hunt trying to find parts that I could use and needed to get the thing put back together so that I could get to work today and get the truck started and out of the garage. Luckily, even though Napa didn't have the lug that I needed, the right size, luckily I remember seeing one at Home Depot that I thought would have been perfect for it, so we went there and we grabbed that and everything worked out. It wasn't that bad to get up there and strip the wire and get it cleaned up to get the new lug on there. I thought it was going to be a C-sucker to get to it because of where it's located, just above the front diff and the front drive shaft in between the engine and the frame. There's not much room to really work there and get a wire stripped, let alone a 3/0, 4/0 cable, but we were able to do it just fine and get it put back together in no time. So I'm thinking that maybe the internals of the starter are just getting whooped. The brushes, the connections, the posts, whatever, everything in there. Maybe we're due for a rebuild on the starter, or just getting a brand new starter in general and getting it installed on the truck. So I'm going to be looking at that stuff tonight and figuring out which route I want to go. Definitely want you guys to tell me in the comment section if you'd prefer to see a rebuild video on a starter or just a replacement video of a starter on these trucks. But that is the latest with the truck and what is going on with it. Let me know if you guys have experienced anything like that, or if you know a little bit more about the starters and what they do when they start to go out, what signs and symptoms they give off when they start to act up and whatnot. But this is the only other thing that I can think of right now that would be causing the issue that I am seeing with the truck. It has to most likely, I would think, be the starter. So do me that favor right now and hit that thumbs up button on your way out, guys. If you are new, stopping in for the first time, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out the links down in the video description for any tools and parts you see me use on the truck here in the garage. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow with another new video. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Peace.